Hello, everyone. Today we're looking back at the beloved cast of The Sandlot. In 1993, they gave us one of the most iconic childhood baseball stories ever filmed. But behind that magical summer were real lives filled with unexpected twists. From Hollywood success to unexpected death, you might be surprised by where the Sandlot kids are today in this video. James Earl Jones as Mr. Myrtle. Let's begin with James Earl Jones, who played Mr. Myrtle, the mysterious neighbor whose wisdom and kindness ultimately reveal the heart of the story. He was 62 years old when he brought the film's quiet moral authority to life. Mr. Myrtle wasn't just an old man behind a fence. He was the gentle storyteller who helped the boys understand courage, friendship, and the truth behind their greatest fear. Sadly, Jones passed away on September 9, 2024, at the age of 93, at his home in Pawling, New York, surrounded by family after complications related to type 2 diabetes. We all remember that his deep voice became instantly recognizable around the world as Darth Vader in the Star Wars saga, while his powerful stage and screen performances earned him the rare distinction of EGOT status, winning Emmy, Grammy, Tony Awards, and an honorary Academy Award. Yet his path to greatness began with hardship. As a child in Mississippi and Michigan, Jones struggled with a severe stutter that left him nearly silent for years while being raised by his grandparents. Through poetry and acting, he slowly overcame the speech disorder that once threatened to silence him completely. His dedication eventually turned that once fragile voice into one of the most commanding voices in entertainment history, heard not only in film and theater, but also in narration, documentaries, and even the voice of CNN's iconic network promos. His personal life carried both love and loss. Jones married actress Julianne Marie in 1968 before their divorce in 1972, and later married actress Cecilia Hart, with whom he had a son. Hart's death from ovarian cancer in 2016 deeply affected him, yet he continued performing and inspiring younger actors well into his later years. Before his death, his estimated net worth was around $40 million. In the end, the man who played the wise neighbor in The Sandlot left behind a legacy far greater than one film. Tom Guiry as Scotty Smalls. We come to Tom Guiry, who played Scotty Smalls, the shy outsider whose story becomes the emotional backbone of the film. He was 12 years old when he carried the heart of the story. Through Small's eyes, the entire summer adventure unfolds, transforming a nervous kid who can't even throw a baseball into the quiet narrator, guiding the audience through every unforgettable moment. In 2026, Tom Guiry is 45 years old, continuing to act occasionally while rebuilding a career that has been shaken by serious personal struggles. Over the years, he appeared in major productions like Black Hawk Down, Mystic River, and later The Revenant, proving he had the talent to move far beyond childhood roles. However, public attention shifted dramatically after a 2013 incident at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport, where he was arrested after allegedly headbutting a police officer during a drunken confrontation, an event that quickly spread across entertainment headlines. And that moment was only the beginning of deeper turbulence. In 2009, Tom married Janelle, and the couple eventually welcomed 3 children. But life behind the scenes was far from peaceful. As the pressure of maintaining a career in Hollywood intensified, Guiry admitted he struggled with alcohol addiction, a problem that followed him for years and affected both his personal life and professional stability. While he continued landing roles, including supporting parts in respected films like Mystic River alongside Sean Penn, many larger opportunities slowly faded. The situation escalated again in June 2024, when he was arrested in South Carolina after allegedly throwing a 35-pound dumbbell at a neighbor's Jeep and threatening the neighbor with a knife, an incident that resulted in probation and further damaged his reputation in the industry. Even so, Guiry has never fully walked away from acting. He continues taking smaller roles while attempting to rebuild stability for himself and his family after years of personal struggle. His estimated net worth in 2026 is around $100,000, reflecting a career shaped as much by controversy as by talent. In many ways, the boy who once played the timid kid learning to believe in himself ended up living a far more difficult version of that same lesson in real life. Patrick Renna as Hamilton Ham Porter. Then, there's Patrick Renna, who played Hamilton Ham Porter, the loud, fearless friend whose jokes and confidence made him one of the most unforgettable personalities on the team. He was 14 years old when he delivered the film's comic energy. Ham wasn't just funny. He was the voice that turned ordinary games into legendary memories. By 2026, Patrick Renna is 47 years old and still active in the entertainment world, continuing to appear in film, television, and online media. More recently, he appeared in the independent film Monster Summer, and in 2025 published a children's book titled A Little Slugger's Guide to the Unwritten Rules of Baseball and Life, blending humor, baseball, and life lessons inspired by his own experiences. And while his career has remained steady, the road hasn't always been easy. Renna grew up in Boston before moving to Los Angeles, where the transition from ordinary childhood to Hollywood auditions left him feeling isolated and under pressure at a young age. As the years passed and the spotlight faded during the 2000s, he openly spoke about the stress of maintaining relevance in an industry that constantly moves on to new faces. At home, however, life became his greatest anchor. He married Jasmine Renna, and together they built a family with 3 children, while also becoming involved in community and religious activities connected to their faith. Yet Patrick found a surprising second life online. His nostalgic connection to the Sandlot exploded on social media, where his comedic videos and baseball references attracted millions of followers, including more than 3.8 million fans on TikTok. Combined with acting, producing, and digital content, his estimated net worth in 2026 is about $1.5 million. Mike Vitar as Benjamin Franklin Rodriguez. Now we turn to Mike Vitar, who played Benjamin Franklin Benny Rodriguez, the fearless leader and fastest player on the Sandlot team. He was 15 years old when he embodied the film's heroic spirit. Benny wasn't just another kid playing baseball. He was the natural leader who pushed the entire group forward and turned an ordinary neighborhood game into something legendary. In 2026, Mike Vitar is 48 years old, yet his life today looks nothing like a typical Hollywood career. After appearing in family favorites like D2, The Mighty Ducks, and D3, The Mighty Ducks, he quietly stepped away from acting before adulthood and pursued a completely different path. Instead of movie sets, he chose a life of public service, eventually becoming a firefighter with the Los Angeles Fire Department, a job he has held since 2002 and one that defined the next chapter of his life. For years, that decision seemed to bring the stability he had been searching for. Mike married Kim Allen, and together they built a private life raising 3 children away from Hollywood attention. However, in 2015, his quiet reputation was suddenly shaken when he and 2 fellow firefighters were accused of assaulting a young man they believed was handing out drug-laced Halloween candy. The case quickly made national headlines, especially because of his past fame. The situation ended with misdemeanor battery charges, 90 days of community service, mandatory anger management classes, and financial restitution, an incident that placed enormous strain on both his career and family life. Even after the controversy, Vitar remained committed to his life outside the entertainment world. He continued serving as a firefighter while largely avoiding the spotlight that once surrounded him as a teenage movie star. His estimated net worth in 2026 is about $300,000, coming mainly from his firefighter salary and small residuals from his acting days. Chauncey Leopardi as Michael Squints Paletaris. We have Chauncey Leopardi, who played Michael Squints Paletaris, the clever schemer with thick glasses and endless confidence. He was 12 years old when he brought the film's most mischievous spirit to life. Squints wasn't just part of the team. He was the prankster who constantly pushed the limits. By 2026, Chauncey Leopardi is 45 years old and still alive, though his life eventually moved far away from acting. He began performing when he was only 5 years old, landing early roles in films like Father of the Bride, and later appearing in projects such as Casper, Houseguest, and the cult television series Freaks and Geeks. Despite these opportunities, years of auditions, long shooting schedules, and the pressure of growing up in front of cameras slowly drained his enthusiasm for the industry. So Chauncey chose a completely different path. After stepping away from major acting work, he shifted his focus toward business and family life. His personal life saw both change and growth. He experienced a divorce from his first marriage before later remarrying, eventually raising multiple children while living in Los Angeles. Like many former child actors, the transition away from Hollywood came with financial uncertainty, forcing him to search for new ways to support his family. That search led to an unexpected reinvention. Leopardi entered the cannabis business, launching a brand called Squints, cleverly inspired by the character that made him famous decades earlier. The venture proved surprisingly successful, helping him rebuild financial stability after leaving acting. His estimated net worth in 2026 is around $3 million. Looking back, the kid who once played the boldest troublemaker on the Sandlot ended up proving something just as daring in real life, that sometimes walking away from fame can lead to an entirely new game. Quinton Adams as Kenny DeNunez. Then there's Quinton Adams, who played Kenny DeNunez, the talented pitcher whose skill quietly held the Sandlot team together. He was 14 years old when he embodied the team's steady confidence on the mound. Kenny wasn't the loudest kid in the group. He was the reliable player whose talent gave the team its edge. By 2026, Quinton Adams is 47 years old, continuing to work creatively while balancing family life. As a child actor, he had already gained attention in Wes Craven's thriller The People Under the Stairs and in the beloved sports film The Mighty Ducks. He also appeared in major television hits such as The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, A Different World, Moesha, and Martin, quickly building a resume that many young actors would envy. However, the transition from child star to adult performer proved far more difficult than expected. As the 2000s approached, acting opportunities began slowing down, and Adams quietly stepped away from the spotlight to focus on music, family life, and personal growth. During that time, he remained involved in storytelling, while also dedicating energy to coaching baseball and mentoring young athletes, reconnecting with the sport that had once defined his most recognizable role. Eventually, the creative spark pulled him back. Adams returned to writing and acting, developing new projects that explore identity, transformation, and legacy, while continuing to appear in independent productions. His estimated net worth in 2026 is about $400,000. In the end, the boy who once stood calmly on the pitcher's mound grew into a storyteller determined to keep reinventing himself long after the final inning of childhood fame ended. Shane Obedzinski as Tommy Repeat Timmons. And now we come to Shane Obedzinski, who played Tommy Repeat Timmons, the kid famous for repeating everything the others said. He was 11 years old when he brought the team's playful, echoing humor to life. Repeat wasn't the strongest player on the field, but his quirky habit of repeating lines became one of the film's funniest running jokes. By 2026, Shane Obedzinski is 44 years old and still alive, though his acting career ended far earlier than most fans realize. He actually began performing at just 3 years old, appearing in films such as My Girl and Matinee, before landing the memorable role of Repeat in The Sandlot. Yet despite early success, the demanding schedule of auditions and film productions gradually pushed him away from the industry. So Shane chose a completely different path. Instead of continuing in Hollywood, he stepped away from acting while still young and focused on building a normal life outside the spotlight. Over time, he moved into the restaurant business and eventually became a co-owner of a pizza restaurant in Florida, trading movie sets for kitchens and local customers. The shift might seem surprising, but for Obedzinski, it meant escaping the intense pressures that many child actors face. Today, he lives a far quieter life than the one he experienced as a young performer. His estimated net worth in 2026 is around $344,000, earned mainly through his business ventures rather than film work. Looking back, the boy who once repeated everyone else's words on the Sandlot ultimately wrote his own story. Marty York as Alan "Yeah Yeah" McLennan. Next, we come to Marty York, who played Alan "Yeah Yeah" McLennan, the fast-talking kid whose nickname came from the way he repeated everything he said. He was 13 years old when he brought the team's rapid-fire humor to life. Yeah Yeah wasn't the strongest player on the Sandlot. He was the loud, energetic voice who filled every scene with chaos and laughter. Today, Marty York is 46 years old, though his life has been marked by shocking tragedies and personal setbacks. After early appearances in shows like Boy Meets World, his young career was suddenly interrupted by a devastating 1997 car accident that nearly ended his life. York suffered severe injuries, including broken legs and a shattered nose, briefly flatlined, and spent months fighting through recovery while learning to walk again. Even after surviving that trauma, life continued testing him. In 2009, his name appeared in headlines after a domestic violence arrest, which added legal pressure and made acting opportunities even harder to find. But the most painful moments came within his own family. In 2017, his sister tragically died from a drug overdose, leaving the family heartbroken. Then, in October 2023, an even more horrifying event unfolded when York's mother was murdered by her boyfriend, a crime that shook him deeply and forced him to process grief few people could imagine. Yet somehow he kept rebuilding. York eventually stepped away from Hollywood and focused on creating stability, working as a personal trainer while still exploring creative projects on the side. His estimated net worth in 2026 is around $200,000. Looking back, the boy once known for shouting, "Yeah, yeah," on a dusty baseball field grew into a man who survived a series of real-life tragedies. Proof that sometimes the toughest battles happen far beyond the game. Grant Gelt as Bertram Grover. Weeks. Then we have Grant Gelt, who played Bertram Grover Weeks, the laid-back kid whose quiet attitude and dry humor added a different flavor to the Sandlot crew. He was 13 years old when he brought the film's relaxed, rebellious energy to life. Bertram wasn't the loudest player on the field. He was the calm observer who always seemed a little older and wiser than the rest of the boys. In 2026, Grant Gelt is 46 years old, yet Hollywood is no longer the center of his life. After appearing in projects such as Avalon, Northern Exposure, and later the popular series Boy Meets World, he made a bold decision in the late 1990s to step away from acting entirely. Instead of continuing auditions and film sets, he chose education, eventually earning a college degree and shifting his focus toward business and entrepreneurship. That decision quietly reshaped his entire future. As the years passed, Gelt moved deeper into the business world, becoming involved in technology and creative marketing ventures. He eventually became the CEO of Masscult, a company specializing in digital innovation, and later co-founded Play Forever, a brand connected to creative design and collectibles. While the public rarely sees him on screen anymore, his work behind the scenes has kept him steadily building a new career far removed from childhood stardom. Meanwhile, his personal life remained relatively stable compared with many former child actors. In 2014, he married Melissa Perez, and the two have maintained a quiet life away from Hollywood's chaos. His estimated net worth in 2026 is around $382,000, built largely from his entrepreneurial ventures rather than acting. In the end, the boy who once lounged in the outfield of the Sandlot grew up to walk away from fame entirely, choosing business, stability, and a completely different kind of success. Victor DiMattia as Timmy Timmons. Then we have Victor DiMattia, who played Timmy Timmons, the sharp-tongued troublemaker who constantly clashed with the Sandlot team. He was 13 years old when he brought the film's most antagonistic energy to life. Timmy wasn't part of the friendly group at all. He was the rival kid whose taunts and confrontations helped spark some of the film's most memorable conflicts. In 2026, Victor DiMattia is 46 years old, though his career eventually shifted far beyond acting. He had appeared in films like Dennis the Menace and Cool as Ice. Building an early resume before The Sandlot made him recognizable to audiences worldwide. Yet by the mid-1990s, his acting career slowed down as he chose to step away from the relentless audition cycle that often defines childhood stardom. That decision opened the door to a different creative path. Instead of focusing solely on acting, DiMattia pursued filmmaking and storytelling behind the camera, studying art, and later directing independent short films while continuing to work on creative projects. Over time, he also moved into business, becoming involved in entrepreneurial ventures and eventually co-founding the creative company Play Forever, which blends design, storytelling, and brand development. His personal life also experienced change along the way. Victor married Whitney DiMattia in 2016, though the marriage later ended in divorce in 2023, a difficult chapter that came during a period of professional transition. Still, he continued building a career that mixes creativity and entrepreneurship, rather than traditional acting roles. His estimated net worth in 2026 is about $647,000, earned through business ventures and creative work. In the end, the boy who once played a loud-mouthed rival on The Sandlot quietly reinvented himself, proving that sometimes the most surprising victories happen far away from the spotlight. Denis Leary as Bill. Finally, we have Denis Leary, who played Bill, the tough but well-meaning stepfather trying to guide a young boy through an unfamiliar world. He was 36 years old when he portrayed the film's stern parental figure, bringing a grounded presence to a story filled mostly with kids. Bill wasn't a hero on the baseball field, but his quiet influence shaped the emotional foundation of the story. By 2026, Denis Leary is 69 years old and still alive, and he remains one of the most recognizable voices and personalities in American entertainment. Over the decades, he built an impressive career as a comedian, actor, writer, and producer. His critically acclaimed television series Rescue Me ran from 2004 to 2011 and earned him multiple Emmy nominations, while his distinctive voice became famous worldwide through the animated Ice Age films, where he voiced the sarcastic saber-toothed tiger Diego. Behind the scenes, Leary's personal life has been far more stable than many Hollywood stories. He married Ann Lembeck Leary in 1989 after the two met while he was teaching at Emerson College, and their marriage has lasted for decades. Together they raised 2 children, while Ann built her own career as a writer and novelist. Their relationship has even inspired essays and stories about long-term marriage, including work that helped inspire an episode of the series Modern Love. Leary has also maintained strong personal passions outside entertainment. A lifelong fan of Boston sports teams, he even built a hockey rink at his former Connecticut home so he could play year-round. With decades of successful television, film, and comedy projects behind him, his estimated net worth in 2026 is around $25 million. Looking back, he became one of the most distinctive voices in modern American comedy and television. Karen Allen as Mom. We have Karen Allen, who played Mom, the gentle and steady mother whose warmth gave Scotty a sense of safety at home. She was 42 years old when she brought the film's emotional comfort to life. Mom wasn't part of the boys' baseball world. She was the quiet source of love and stability that made Scotty's journey feel real. In 2026, Karen Allen is 75 years old, and she remains one of the most respected actresses of her generation. She became unforgettable through Raiders of the Lost Ark. Over the years, she also moved into directing and creative work behind the camera. even earning recognition for a short film connected to the Manchester Film Festival, while continuing to work in theater and the arts. Still, her life did not unfold like a non-stop Hollywood fairy tale. Because her father worked for the FBI, Allen spent much of her childhood moving from place to place, never staying rooted for long, and that constant instability shaped the quiet strength people later saw on screen. In 1988, she married actor Cale Brown, and they welcomed a son, Nicholas, in 1990, but the marriage ended in 1998. After becoming a mother, Allen deliberately accepted smaller roles so she could focus on raising her son, a decision that slowed the momentum of her mainstream acting career but gave her a more grounded personal life. And that choice changed the shape of her legacy. Rather than chase fame at all costs, she built a more private and artistic life in Massachusetts, where she later launched Karen Allen Fiber Arts, taught acting, and worked as a stage director. Her estimated net worth in 2026 is around $10 million. In the end, the woman who played Scotty's comforting mother on screen built a life defined not by Hollywood noise, but by talent, reinvention, and the quiet courage to choose family over fame. Marley Shelton as Wendy Peppercorn. And finally, there's Marley Shelton, who played Wendy Peppercorn, the stunning lifeguard who became the boys' impossible dream. She was 19 years old when she gave the film its most unforgettable crush. Wendy wasn't just a side character. She was the fantasy figure who helped create one of the most iconic scenes in the entire movie. By 2026, Marley Shelton is 52 years old, and she is still active in film and television. After The Sandlot, she slowly built a long and surprisingly durable career through films like Pleasantville, Never Been Kissed, and later Sin City, where even a brief appearance left an impression. She continued proving her range in thrillers and genre films, eventually returning to major attention through the Scream franchise, where her role as Judy Hicks gave her a darker, more mature screen identity. Even so, her path was not one of easy superstardom. Shelton came from an artistic family in Los Angeles, with a producer father and a mother connected to music and teaching, so acting was always close to her life. But that also meant growing up inside a world full of expectation. She studied film and theater, took acting lessons, and spent years taking small parts before finally gaining stronger roles. Yet many of her television projects, including 11th Hour, The Lottery, and Rise, were canceled after only one season, which meant her career often moved forward in bursts rather than in one unstoppable climb. Her personal life, however, has been much steadier than her Hollywood journey. Marley met producer Beau Flynn on the set of Bubble Boy and married him in 2001, and together they built a family with 2 daughters while she continued working across film and television. She later appeared in projects like 1923 and Matlock, showing that her career never truly disappeared. It simply evolved. Her estimated net worth in 2026 is around $3 million. Looking back, the young woman who played the boys' biggest fantasy in The Sandlot grew into an actress with far more depth, endurance, and staying power than that one unforgettable poolside image ever suggested. After more than 3 decades, the Sandlot cast has taken very different paths since that unforgettable summer of 1993. Which Sandlot cast member surprised you the most? And which story did you never expect? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this look at the Sandlot cast, then and now, 1993 to 2026, where are they today? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from the stars you grew up watching.